The next Batman, Second Son, issue 1. So this is the first physical issue, which is the first 3 digital chapters. And we're doing it this way, even though I think we both read it digitally, because
Yeah.
we feel that the digital chapters that they release weekly for $1 are just too short to really dive into. So maybe like following the physical release pattern would lead to a better conversation. And I think that part's going to be true. I feel like I got a nice amount out of these 3 combined.
Yeah.
So
There's a little, I think it ends up being a little bit more than a full issue's worth.
Slightly more, but not.
Yeah. So.
But not by a huge amount.
No.
But this is what's in the first physical issue, so this is why we read it this way. And it gives us an idea of what Jace is like now. And obviously, it's funny. It shows you how much of a dick Luke's been in Future State when he's still calling him Tim. When he's been trying to go by Jace since present day.
Yeah, and that Ridley sure has a mat on for Luke, because he just seems so. I don't know. I need to know more about Jace and why he wants to call himself that, right?
I'm sure that's coming in this story.
Yeah, because Luke just comes off like a dick.
Oh, he does.
Like 100% no redeeming here. Although we do get to see Batwing operating, which is cool.
Yeah, he is operating as Batwing still. Obviously, it's present day. The story starts with Jace. He's working kind of as a spy or whatever. I will say, it does have that digital formatting where it's like the half pages, which it's kind of annoying to me, because when I go horizontal on my tablet to look at it, I feel like it's just too big. Like, it's too bulky.
Yeah.
It's literally just half of a page.
Well,
blown up.
And at the end of the first issue, digitally, we see Grifter.
Connor brought this up a couple of weeks ago, that the final page was a full page spread that was split in 2, but they didn't bother putting it together for the digital version. It's still in the 2 halves, which is really stupid. So
which I didn't get to my shop this week, but so going forward, I might have to just get this physically.
Sure.
Just to see how different it is, because it was a little thing, but it drove me nuts, and it's not the fault of the storytellers. That's strictly on.
Yeah, I mean,
whoever formatted it.
Yeah, I've been over this before. I prefer regular comic format into this like half digital page thing. I just think clearly, obviously, I get why they do it, because the whole idea is that it's very readable on a phone because it's much bigger. But as someone who still reads comics on a tablet, I'd rather just have full page. I wish it was just a toggle. Like, just let me toggle to the regular comic format. I don't know how hard or easy that would be, but just do it. Because Connor's said in the past that he thinks, but when it's like a full spread, it's just like a full 2-page spread. But I don't think it is. So this is like I'll hold this up to the camera. Obviously, the audio people can't see this. But this is like an early full panel that's in the book, and it's just Jay standing there talking on comms to is it Viv he talks to? But he's but it doesn't feel like a 2-page spread to me. This just feels like a single panel that's and part of that's the size of the speech bubbles. Obviously that sort of gives you a sense, but also part of it's just the art. Like, I get the sense that the canvas that this was drawn on, whether it be physical or digital, like however the artist does it, like that's you can tell it's a smaller. It's not meant to be a 2-page spread. Like, if you blew this up to 2-page spread, it'd be like, why is this a 2-page spread? It doesn't feel like the art is there to justify it. The detail's not there for it. So, not to throw Connor under the bus when he's not here, but his past argument that when there's a full panel in a digital formatted comic book, it's just like getting a 2-page spread in a regular comic, I disagree. It feels completely different. Anyway. So, he's there to spy on some dude here. Let me just get to it. So he's stealing stuff off a computer. He's just got a balaclava on.
Yeah, it's a tech billionaire that's also doing some shady stuff. Yes. So whatever Jace is up to, seems to be in the spirit of Batman.
He thinks he's trafficking, but the villain kind of implies that he doesn't even really know. Like, he's obviously up to something, but the villain clearly implies that, there's more to this that you don't even know. So I guess the good thing here is that it shows that, okay, he's already got skills. He's already doing Batman-y stuff. He's already spying. He's already fighting. He's already vigilanting, as it were, in his own way. And he gets into a fight with some of the guards, and he goes back to his hideout. And the end of the first digital chapter is him going to his hideout, and Grifter's there saying that his dad's looking for him. Which, again, this is part of this shared Gotham connected stuff, is that the idea that Grifter's working for Lucius Fox is something that's established in the Future State stuff. So This is something that's already a thing here. But yeah, it's really weird that it's just a single full page spread that's split in two in digital version.
And like, I could understand if there was something that we were supposed to see down by this lady's feet.
It's not though.
But there's nothing there. So I went back 3 or 4 times. Like, am I missing something?
No.
You know, like, am I supposed to be focusing on, you know, like, does Grifter have a house arrest bracelet on, or anklet? You know, but no, it's just the back of his head. But also early on, Jace really reminds me of Black Panther with that suit, just running around. You know, which I think is cool because we get a lot of comparisons between Batman and Black Panther. You know, because they're both kind of humans hanging out with powered beings and whatnot. So.
This is a silly thing to bring up, and it's not really that important. But I am going to point out that there is a little bit of overlap. So if you look at the bottom of the second last digital page and then the top of the last digital page, there's a little bit of overlap. So it kind of shows you that these digital pages are actually a little bit more than half of a regular page. Yeah. Just slightly. But you see her fingertips in both, is I guess the best thing to show it by. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Yeah. It was just a point of interest.
If you frame it otherwise and you're cutting that the bottom panel too short, you know?
Sure. So it is what it is. Yeah. And then digital chapter 2, still in issue 1 of the book. It's Jace arriving home. It mentions Mayor Nakano on the news, so really establishing that we're in the current present day Gotham. And we have his mom and his sisters meeting him at the airport, but notably Luke's not there. Lucius is too busy, apparently. And probably the biggest thing here is Tam, because this is the one who in the future is in a hospital bed, and I think we assumed a lot of things. It definitely feels like she obviously clearly already has health conditions. Did you get the implication here that something he did in his teenage years actually caused this in the first place? Because
I don't know, because we've been introduced to Tam before, and she seemed to be fine. You know, so if it was something from his teenage years, because we do know something involved a car. Yes, because we got that in Next Batman. So yeah, I don't know. And it's also when she was in the hospital bed, the family was blaming the masks. That's why they became so pro Nakano, and almost of the magistrate in that, because of whatever happened to Tam.
Yeah. Because obviously the very end of this physical issue, there's a big cliffhanger with Tam, which isn't super mask related, really. They're not even debating mask when it happens. It's just I assume there's still more to it. But we see there's like a thug robbing a place, and Batwing steps in, so you get a bit of action here again. But notably, the cops who show up are like, no, like, we don't need your help, leave. Like, they get really mouthy with them. Again, just kind of establishing that the attitude in Gotham is changing, that the police are not welcoming the help of Bat characters and stuff. And of course, Grifter's filling in Lucius and what's going on. The reason why I needed him back, though, this is where it gets interested. There's going to be a disposition, and they're basically deciding if the Foxes should be able to keep the Wayne fortune. And Lucius is worried that a mistake, as he puts it later on, in JC's past is going to unravel the whole thing because of something he did. So presumably we're going to find out about exactly the details of this when he's on stand. Because Lucius is like, oh, are you going to say the right things? And he's like, I'll say whatever I want to say. I'll say the truth. And so I imagine we're going to get a very tense disposition scene in the coming issues soon. So, but this is notable. One of the things we mentioned in Batman is that Montoya is now the commissioner. The actual scenes of her being given this job are in this book, which is kind of neat. It makes this feel a little bit more important. I feel like it's a part of what's going on in the continuity. So this idea that the digital books feel separate is starting to kind of fade away. So it's something to bear in mind. Nakano offers her the job, and she's kind of hesitant because she's like, I'm not going to be your enforcer. I'm not going to kill people with masks. And don't you dare sell the name Jim Gordon, is basically something she says. But she does accept. She accepts it in the next part, but she does accept the job after there's an incident. So yeah, every time Jace tries to talk to Luke just kind of no sells him.
Big time.
And it's really upsetting. Quite frankly, it's very unpleasant. So, yeah. Even
and I like Luke so much, but he's such a jerk, man.
He is in this. He absolutely is. And Jace, tries to talk to Tam, and even he's kind of conflicted. Like, should I even be back there? Is there anything here for me? And she gets kind of offended at that because, like, hey, like I'm here, your family's here. Like, I know, not everyone's yeah, and that's actually the end. It's her walking away in kind of a sadness kind of moment as the end of the second digital chapter, and then moving into the third digital chapter, wrapping up the physical issue. Yeah, AD, it's the Arkham thing that actually convinces Renee to sign up, seemingly. And we have more Batwing, so this thug that Batwing fights, he pulls out what I would describe as a handheld buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a buzzsaw that looks like this?
I have not, but it is Gotham, so...
Because it's... And people are saying you do get handheld, but you do, but they're sort of shaped in a very different... Like, this is like a... Imagine like an axe, but at the top of the axe, instead of the axe, is a buzzsaw.
Right, but you know what? It could be a surgical saw.
Okay. Actually, Joe, I describe it as, it looks like a really big pizza car. It's a really nasty looking pizza car.
There we go.
That's how I describe it.
What gets me here, and it was confusing, is the dialogue where he runs smack dab into Batwing because he's cloaked, and he says, "Been looking for, Winfield. Where's Joker?" That sentence doesn't make sense. So,
wait, hold on. What are you saying?
So when he knocks down this guy, Winfield, I'm assuming, because he was cloaked, right? He was like invisible. He said, "Been looking for, Winfield. Where's Joker?" What does that sentence mean? So it's like, I've been looking for you?
Been looking for Winfield. Where's Joker? Yeah, I guess he's just abbreviating.
Like, I feel like that comma doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
it feels like the word "you" is missing. Yeah, that's a fair thing. Yeah. Okay. That's a fair
That's
complaint.
all. Like, I had to read that like 3 or 4 times. But yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
not seeing any of these like that thing like I'd imagine. Like when you look up surgical saw, not what I was expecting.
Yeah. This thing was is pretty nasty. So yeah. But yeah, so this criminal kind of feels a little bit empowered because he's like, hey, the opinion's changing on you, you bastards. Like, if there's another war, you're going to be in trouble. So again, the TV's talking about the mayor saying about mass and Lucius's what. This is where we have the scene with Lucius and Jace, and Lucius, sort of agrees to call him the right name, but then sort of immediately reverts to using Tim, within seconds, because he gets mad at him for not like towing the family line, as it were. So we kind of mentioned this. The main point of this is that he's like, no, I'm going to say whatever I want. But Jace feels kind of pissed that he couldn't even see his dad at home. He got an appointment to see him at the office as if it was a meeting. It all feels very corporate and stuff like that. So that's kind of odd.
It's making me not like Lucius as much. Like, which I think is the point here. Also, the art, like, typically it's been fine, but here Lucius looks really young. Like,
yeah, I think that's
does not look like he can be the dad of 30-somethings,
If anything, I would say Jace looks older in this scene than Lucius does.
It's a little bit weird.
I think I think Aikens on the art is good, but he does have a very, very clean style, and I think part of that is that a lot of his characters do end up looking young. And I think the reason why Jace looks older is just purely because he has facial hair. I think that's it. Like,
that could be.
He's got a goatee, and therefore he looks much older by default. Because it was very clean. There's not a lot of sketchiness. It's very simple, flat colors as well, which is not a bad thing. I mean, the art looks typically pleasing enough to look at. Yeah. So the end of this first physical issue is Jace being convinced to go and talk to the rest of the family by his little sister, and she makes him promise to. Oh, sorry. Luke, sorry, not Jace. Jace is already down with the family. It's Luke that's convinced to go and talk to everyone. And she takes Luke down to meet with Jace and the others, and immediately, because Jace again tries to be nice and just says, "Hey, Luke," even though Luke's already been a dick to him, and he's like, "Well, hello, Jace. It's Jace, right? I don't want to offend you by accidentally using your real name." And he just comes off like, I don't think Luke has ever come off as much of a dick as he did in that speech bubble.
Yep, for sure.
It came out really, really shitty. And as the fight starts to break out, and it's kind of bubbling up the same stuff that they've been debating over the course of the issue, Tam in the background starts to get woozy as she says please, and then the final couple pages is her falling to the floor, and saying they need an ambulance, and Jace is just sort of looking in shock. And I do like the visual though, that Luke goes down and like has her hand, but Jace is kind of at a distance. He cares, but he's in shock, and it gives you that visual that he's still kind of disconnected from the family. Yeah,
he's still an outsider. Amongst his family.
So that's the big cliffhanger to the end of the first physical issue. I mean, I do think that reading it in this batch of 3 is probably, but I wish I could just read it digitally like it is in the physical book though. I wish I didn't have to do the 3 separate chapters. Which is a shame, but I am into the character. I am into Ridley's storytelling, so if this is how they're going to release it, I guess this is how I'm locked into it. But so
yeah,
it is what it is. Just give me a toggle. That's all I want. I want a toggle just to read it like the physical book, but digitally. That's all I want. About all 3 chapters, just give me a little switch that turns them into vertical pages combined together. I'd love it. I'd love it so much, DC. Thank you.
Thanks for my TED Talk.
Yeah. I mean, these first 3 chapters I think are solid. They're establishing who this character is in the present day. A lot of it's tying to the other stuff. I like that there's subplots going on with Montoya and building more of Gotham. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to be so relevant to the present day Gotham stuff. So that's kind of neat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of seeing how he becomes. I mean, not that I expect him to become Batman by the end of the story because it's probably too early for that. But just where the story goes. How it...
Yeah, it's more about family dynamics than I expected.
Sure.
Through these. So that's pretty cool. That makes it stand out.
Well, it's nice to actually have him interact with Tam because Tam was just in a coma the whole story before. So it's nice to actually see some of those interactions to see what she means to these people, and then like from that meaning to them and her relationship with them, we can that can have more meaning. Like when they care, when they argue about what caused her predicament, what caused her illness, what caused her injuries, it'll mean more to us because we've actually seen some of that relationship play out. So that's good. Yeah. All right. What are you giving next Batman Second Son issue 1?
I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 7.5.
I think I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think if I could read this as a normal issue, I'd have went up a half point, but I'm going to deduct half a point for making me read it in this stupid digital format.
Fair enough.
And I say that as someone who reads everything digitally anyway.
Yeah, it's just the formatting. It needs a tweak.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, not only just the way you have to read the pages, because it's like, part of it is I feel like I'm just going to new pages too quickly. Like I'm finishing pages too quickly and it's not comfortable. But the other part of it is it's all these short chapters, and yeah, waiting to binge read it in a batch of 3 does help a little bit, but it's still, I get to the end of it and I have to click on the next issue, and I know that sounds really lazy. It's not an effort thing. It's more just every time you have to turn the page, it's kind of breaking the flow of reading. So having to do it twice as often because you're only getting half pages is ruining what I think the typical flow of a comic should feel like. Right. And maybe that can change, but I don't necessarily think it becoming quicker is a good thing, necessarily. So, I don't know. That's something I'm sure they'll experiment with.